Well, Lance, it's great to be back for another podcast for the DC Capstone Report. On this podcast, we're going to review the game against Arkansas State. In the first segment, we'll see how the team fared in its second outing. In our second segment, we're going to look at our players of the game and take a look at those on offense and on defense and what impact they had on the game against Arkansas State. And in our third segment, we're going to take a look at our upcoming game against Ole Miss, our first SEC game of the year. The DC Capstone Report is featured each Tuesday morning on Tide 102.9, The Morning Blitz with Martin Houston. You can listen live at Tide1029.com. Well, Lance, in our first segment, we're going to take a look at the game against Arkansas State. Alabama went out and took the field for our first home game at Bryant-Denny Stadium. It wasn't a sellout. It was a very hot day. There was about 400 or 500 seats short of a sellout, but there was a lot of people in the stands. The crowd was just boisterous and loud. It was a great first home opening game for the players. They ran out on the field. So it was a game against the Red Wolves of Arkansas State. They were picked to win the Sun Belt. They had a powerful offensive game plan coming in. But Alabama overall, just to summarize, did such a great job in this game of keeping them in check offensively. They were able to score late in the game and get some yards, of course. They actually had more rushing yards than Louisville did. We held Louisville to 16 yards rushing, and they actually had more yards in this game rushing than Louisville did, up in the 100 yards rushing. But that was, again, some gap assignments, and we'll talk about that later in our specifics part of the game, the improvements we can make. But overall, I thought we had a good showing against defensively against Arkansas State. They had a fast-paced, up-tempo offense, one of those zone reads, run-pass option offenses, and we did a really good job. I think over the years, Lance, Alabama has done a really good job of adapting its personnel. Early on we weren't built to stop these run-pass option offenses. Weren't able to stop the high, fast pace because we made some personnel changes. But in this game, we had really good communication, getting on and off the field at the right time, getting in the right play call, and the right personnel to stop it. And I thought we did really good on defense, had a good defensive game plan going ahead. So, and I really give credit to Tosh Lapoy in this game. He really called a good game, got the players in the right defenses, and did really well. On the other side of the ball, our offense looked really good, came out clicking on all cylinders. Tua Tagovailoa, he did a great job quarterbacking as he started again. I think Coach Saban's made it clear that he's going to be the starting quarterback going forward. He started this game and did an exceptional job on the first series, coming out and making a great read to Jerry Jeudy on the slant pass, and then Jerry Jeudy just ran away from the defense all the way for the immediate score. Tua made some other great throws when he made touchdown passes, wide open Devonta Smith. He was able to throw touchdown passes to Henry Ruggs, so he did a great job in this game. He had some miscues at one point. He stared down a receiver off to his left, and tried to thread the needle to Devontae Smith, and a Arkansas State player stepped right in front of the ball, hit him right in the hands. He dropped it, which would have been an interception and killed a drive, but he was able to recover from that and make some great plays. Made some good plays with his leg. Jalen Hurts is always known as a running quarterback, but Tua in this game was able to extend some drives on third down by running for the first down, and he was able to take advantage of some zone read plays where he kept the ball and made some good plays. A couple of times he handed the ball off when he should have kept it, and our running backs were stopped for no gain. He's got to do a better job, I think, of reading those plays, but there's some room for improvement. But overall, I thought Tua did a fantastic job in this game. Now, there was some speculation going into the game. A Birmingham radio personality had made a statement that he thought that Tua would start and that Jalen wouldn't play, that Mac Jones would be the first quarterback off the bench because of some things he had heard. But that turned out not to be the case. Apparently, Coach Saban, as he had told us early on, he had a plan to play both quarterbacks, and he did play both quarterbacks in this game, and Jalen Hurts was the first quarterback off the bench. And he came in and did an excellent job. I think he completed over 90% of his passes. He was spot on. He ran the ball well with authority. He had one miscue when he tried to be a little fancy at the goal line and jump. He got hit really hard and fumbled the ball, and we lost possession of the ball. Would have had another score in the game but for that. But, going into this game, we thought it would be a rout, and it was. Alabama handily did what they wanted to do on offense. Now, specifically kind of go in on offense, I think there were some miscues, some mistakes. We did clean up the penalties. I think we played better, but we did miss some plays, some opportunities. We had the fumble. We had some drop passes, a couple of drop passes, and then we had the handing off to the running back when the ball should be kept. So making those zone read plays down the stretch will be important. But I think this was a game where we did make some improvements offensively, and we did not make as many mistakes. Now on defense, I think there was a couple of times late in the game where we let our guard down a little bit, became a little complacent in the game, and allowed them to gain some yards. And I think a couple of times we saw again those receivers running free, and that was just a missed assignment. So for the most part, by and large, our defensive backs played a real good game, and thought they held up really good against a good passing attack from Arkansas State. But there was some missed assignments. We'll have to get those cleaned up before we're going into the next game. It appeared to me that the young defensive backs began to gel a little bit and begin to play well together. I think we're seeing some people come together, getting in these early games, getting their playing time together and becoming more comfortable with each other in the coverages and that sort of thing. Our linebackers played really well in this game. I think middle linebackers played exceptionally well. And, of course, our D-line was really good. We have a really good defensive line, and they did a good job. I think we didn't get as much pressure on the quarterback as I would like to see, but their quarterback was mobile and was able to get out of the pocket a couple of times. I think going down the road, though, as we enter SEC play next week, we're going to have to put more pressure on the quarterback. If we allow the quarterback to sit back there and pick us off, it'll be an advantage against this young defensive backfield. But overall, I think it was a good outing, good showing for the first home game against Arkansas State. A good opponent, I'd say a fair opponent, picked to win their conference in the Sun Belt this year. So I really believe they did a really good job of in the game. Now, the one thing that I will point out that I think was a negative, and that was our specialist. The kicker, Austin Jones, the transfer out of Temple, he missed 2 extra points. And it's just really unheard of to miss 2 extra points for Alabama. I know we've had some kickers that have been suspect in the past, but I don't think we've ever missed 2 extra points in one game, and this time we did. Well, it looks like that Jeff Banks, Coach Saban, made a change and went with Joseph Bulovas, who had been kicking off anyway. He went with Joseph Bulovas to kick the extra points, and then he made the rest of the extra points and then made a field goal as well. So we may have seen that competition be won by Joseph Bulovas. He eventually was doing the kicking duties, kicking off, did a fair job doing that. He did make his extra points and make his only field goal attempt that he tried. So if just something to watch our next game to see if Joseph Bulovas is our specialist going forward. In the punting game, I think Skyler Long had an opportunity to punt. One punt for 39 yards and then another punt for about the same. He didn't it's not the same as we were used to seeing with Case Scott just doesn't seem to have the leg or the motion or maybe the timing down right now. So looking forward, our kicking game is something that we're going to have to kind of keep in mind going forward that needs some improvement. Now the return game, they had a really good punter who had a lot of hang time on the ball. So Jalen Waddle didn't have as many opportunities, but in this particular game to return kicks. But we did have an issue where the sun got in his eyes and he didn't miss a play on the ball, but he didn't touch it, so it wasn't a turnover. But the sun in Bryant-Denny Stadium during the summer can really be an imposing figure in this return game, and Jalen Waddle was a victim of that in the very first punt. So we have to watch that going forward. But overall, Alabama played a really good game. I think they were solid overall in offense and defense, and a good tune-up game going into our first SEC action next week on the road at Ole Miss.
You have been listening to the DC Capstone Report. The DC Capstone Report is brought to you each time this week by RollTideBama.com and FreelancePictures.com.
Well, in our second segment, Lance, I'd like to highlight some of our players of the game on offense and on defense and talk about the impact that they had on the game. And I think, first of all, we've just got to talk about our quarterbacks. I think both Tua and Jalen did a great job in this game. I know we've always talked about it being a competition, but they showed in this game, I think, that they're still friendly competition. They're still friends. They're still supporting one another. Tua got the start and did excellent in his play. Jalen came in, and when he had the opportunity, he made the best of his moments of throwing the ball. I think he was like 7 of 8 on passing the ball, so just almost perfect. Did a great job of that. Ran the ball with good authority. So I think both of them had good offensive games. I think the player that we talked about last week, Jerry Jeudy, has really stepped up his game. But my impression was just the giving the ball to different people, distributing the ball. It looked like that over 5 different receivers caught passes for touchdowns in this game. So I think Devontae Smith, Henry Ruggs, Irv Smith, Jerry Jeudy, and Derek Keefe. Derek Keefe had an excellent catch in the end zone where he got all of his toes down on a great throw. So I think all of them distributing the ball was a big factor on the offense. But I think the player of the game on offense had to be in the rushing attack, and I believe that offensive player was Najee Harris. Najee Harris came in as the third back. It looked like Damian Harris got the start, did an excellent job as usual, blocking and running. Josh Jacobs came in, did a great job as well. But when Najee Harris came into the game, he took full advantage of it, and he was just able to run with some authority. He ran with some toughness, was able to hurdle some players, and when it's all said and done, had over 138 yards rushing in the game. So I think he did a really good job. I think he had 28 attempts, so he got the most carries in the game and did a really good job. So I would say on the offensive side of the ball that Najee Harris was one of the star players. Another star player, I think, that in this game, if you go back and look at the film, it's hard to see and single out these, but it looked to me like Lester Cotton, the local project right here out of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, on the guard position, did an excellent job of handling his man in the blocking schemes. I think if you look back, you'll see he graded out in the high 80s, maybe the low 90s in this game. That means he just did an excellent job. And so I think sometimes we give a lot of credit to our specialists and our quarterbacks when they deserve it. But let's give some love to the offensive line. Lester Cotton did a really good job. I know over time you would think that people have been complaining about our offensive line gelling or coming together, but it takes 2 or 3, maybe 4 games for them to come together, play together, especially this new positions that they're in. But I think Lester Cotton did such a great job in this game. I look for him to help this line get better and better going forward. So Overall on offense, I think, of course, Tua and Jalen did a great job, but my two players of the game would be Najee Harris at running back and Lester Cotton on the offensive line. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, there's so many players you could pick from that I thought had a great game in this game. But I want to go with the defensive line, and I think we have a great defensive line with Isaiah Buggs, Raekwon Davis, and Quinnen Williams. But my player of the line, on that line of the game has to be Quinnen Williams. You know, everybody has been talking in the beginning of the year, is there going to be a drop-off when you lose a first-round talent like Daron Payne, who's immediately starting in the NFL? Well, everybody thought there would be a drop-off. We talked a little bit about last week, but in this game, I think Quinnen Williams stepped up to the plate. He handled his the offensive lineman in front of him almost every play. Did a great job of pressuring the quarterback up the middle. He did a great job of stopping that run play up the middle on the run-pass option. Took that play away in the first couple of series. So Quinnen Williams did an excellent job, and he's, of course, my defensive lineman player of the game. In the defensive backfield, I think I want to highlight a player that I thought did a great job in this game, and that's Patrick Surtain, number 2, the true freshman. It looks like Coach Saban decided to put him out there at corner when you're going against a lot of these high-passing offenses where they're really stretching the field against you. Instead of letting him play that star money position that Minka Fitzpatrick, looks like Trayvon Diggs has moved over into that position now and gives Patrick Surtain, a freshman, just to concentrate on one job, and that is to play the corner. He was isolated several times against their top receiver, and he won those battles head-to-head, knocked the ball away. He had him covered several times. And then the time that he did get beat, he was so close to the receiver, it was just an excellent pass and a 50-50 ball that their player went up and got. So I'm just really impressed with the freshman Patrick Surtain. So I think the defensive backfield played well as a whole, but I think Patrick Surtain did such a great job. He is my defensive player, one of my defensive players in the game. So Quinnen Williams and Patrick Surtain on defense, and Najee Harris and Lester Cotton are my players of the game on offense. Well, Lance, in our final segment, we look forward to our next upcoming game. That's going to be against Ole Miss. We know now the starting time is going to be at 6 o'clock kickoff there in Oxford, Mississippi. It'll be our first true road game of the season, our first true SEC game of the season. So we're going there into Oxford. You know, Oxford, Mississippi has been tough on Alabama the last couple of years we played there. You know, the only game that we've lost in Bryant-Denny over the last 30-something games has been to Ole Miss, and they beat us back-to-back 2 years, so they have the experience in beating Alabama recently, and not many teams can say that. So going in this game is, you know, we beat them handily here in Bryant-Denny Stadium, and then going into this game now, they're going to have an opportunity to come back and try to right the ship, and if they could have a victory against Alabama, it would make their season this year. But it's going to be tough. We're going to be going on the road, and this will be Tua Tagovailoa's first start on the road in a very rabid atmosphere, anti-Alabama atmosphere there. And we'll just have to see how he plays coming out against that type of atmosphere. But, you know, Alabama, I think, is up for the challenge. One of the most challenging things is that Ole Miss right now is leading the SEC and one of the top teams in the nation in offensive production. They have a great offense. They have a great offensive line, a great quarterback. And Tamu, he does such a great job of passing the ball, running the run-pass option. They have a great running back, and really, I think overall can stretch the field. And that's going to be a test for our defensive backs. We've had 2 good games here to get 2 games under our belts against Louisville and Arkansas State, some passing teams. But I don't think we've been pressured or been stretched like we will against Ole Miss. Ole Miss is going to stretch the field. They're going to try to run on us. They're going to try to pass on us. They're not going to be intimidated by our defense. And our defense is going to have to stand up. I believe it's going to be the critical thing in this game for our defense to put pressure on their quarterback. We're going to have to get pressure from our defensive line, from our outside linebackers, and from our blitzing, our linebackers, and our safety. So I believe look for Tosh Lapoide to try to come up with a strategy in this game that'll allow us to put some pressure on the quarterback, and that's how we're going to be able to help our defensive backs in this game, is putting pressure on the quarterback. But you know, I think they have an imposing offense. This will be the best offense we have gone up against all season. So I think it's going to be a test for us, but I think we're up for the test as we go in there to Oxford. On the other side of the ball, I think we have a great offense as well, and I think we're second in the SEC behind Ole Miss in offensive production so far in the first 2 games. And so I believe that we're going to have an opportunity to run against Ole Miss. I believe we're going to have an opportunity to throw the ball, and we'll have an opportunity to score some points. In the 2 games that Ole Miss has played against, the first game against Texas Tech, and then their last game, they gave up a lot of plays defensively. So I think that Alabama can stretch the field against Ole Miss. I think we can run on them, and I think if we manage our clock well and score points, as I think we can in this game, we'll have a good opportunity to win this game. Now the difference might come down in turnovers in this game. So look for Ole Miss's defense to try to be a ball-hawking defense and get the ball out, knock the ball out. So I'll look for them to do that in this game. So one of the keys might be is we protect the ball and don't throw any interceptions. If we can have a less turnover game than Ole Miss, then I look for us to win this game handily. The odds makers have us about a 20-point favorite. I think that might be a little high. This might be a high-scoring game. But, I'm going to go under the idea that Alabama is going to go into this game, be ready for this game, be able to take anything Ole Miss gives them on the chin and do a good game. So my prediction for this game is a little different than the odds makers and a little different than the other commentators out there. One commentator went on the Paul Feinbaum show a week ago and picked Alabama to lose to Ole Miss. And so I think that that's an opportunity to happen, but I don't think it's going to happen. So this game against Ole Miss, I think the score is going to be Alabama 31, Ole Miss 17.
You have been listening to the DC Capstone Report. The DC Capstone Report is brought to you each time this week by RollTideBama.com and FreelancePictures.com. Be sure to go online and check us out on DCCapstoneReport.com for future updates.